guys, it's Brian with Undead Empire Gaming, and today I'm going to be reviewing Wrestlemania 2000 for the N64. The N64 version was developed by Asmic Ace Entertainment and AKI Corporation, published by THQ. The game was released just 5 months before the titular pay-per-view, so the actual Wrestlemania 2000 event was being advertised as going to be the biggest night in sports entertainment history. And so the developers really kind of jumped on that bandwagon, and they needed to release a game that was going to be as bombastic as WrestleMania 2000 was going to be. I actually really enjoy this game, so I'm really excited, so let's just jump right into it. Gameplay. It's a 90s wrestling game. TV wrestling is a fairly simple concept. You beat your opponent in a bout, usually by pinning them or getting them to tap via submission. The best way to do this is to beat the ever-living shit out of the person opposite of you. During a match, you and your opponent each possess an attitude meter, which basically serves as your morale or momentum gauge. You can kind of use it to kind of gauge your health, but your character model does a better job of that, and you can actually still have, like, you know, low health, if you want to call it, and have a relatively high attitude. The higher yours is, or more accurately, the bigger the difference is between you and your opponent, for better or for worse, the more likely you are to accomplish or fail tasks, such as executing difficult moves, countering, or clinching that last second pin that you need, or getting pinned yourself. Your attitude alters whenever you deal or take damage, or the easiest way is to perform one of the game's numerous and hilarious taunts. And if you max out your meter, after one more final taunt, you enter into a special state where you're able to unleash your devastating finishing moves. The game boasts a veritable who's who roster from, in my opinion, is the best period of the WWF, or now the WWE, which is the Attitude Era. Immediately from the get-go, you have access to what I believe to be the titans of the wrestling industry, such as the electrifying Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the vindictive Stone Cold Steve Austin, high flyers such as the Hardy Boys, the good chunk of the Degeneration X stable, all three of the Mick Foley personas, and the list just goes on. Each of the superstars are outfitted with movesets that are just like their own. Big, chunky wrestlers like Kane, Undertaker, The Big Show have slower and more punishing, like, bombastic slams, whereas smaller stars like the Hardy Boys might have more flashy, you know, kicks and flips and everything like that. The best part about having a game with such an expansive roster is that it kind of just trickles down into what is my favorite aspect of this game, and which is the custom wrestler creation. For an N64 game, the level of depth that is available to you to create your character is staggering. Every single thing your character is capable of doing in the game can be custom tailored. From their moves, their strikes, how they move, how they even enter the ring, it's completely up to you. And then being able to see that, like this caricature of yourself going up against these, you know, like I said, titans of industry, it's amazing. Aside from the simple exhibition matches you will typically find in any type of, you know, fighting or combat game, there is actually a story mode to be played. It's called Road to WrestleMania. That's actually the game mode I played in Let's Play, if you want to go check that out. So the campaign, or the Road to WrestleMania, follows your character throughout an entire year, and your character can be either a custom-made character, like I did in my playthrough, or you can just choose from one of the real-life superstars. So in the exhibitions and in the story mode, you'll get to play the game's limited amount of match types. You know, it's fairly simple stuff like simple one-on-one single matches, three-way fights, which is one-on-one-on-one, tag teams, which is two-on-two, cage matches. Although in, like, the story mode, the cage matches come a lot later in the arc. The fighting feels really good, depending on who you're playing as and what their type of wrestling style is. You know, grappling with a gigantic behemoth of a wrestler like Kane or, Big Show. It's just so satisfying, seeing them like slam their opponents into the ground. And on this flip side, it's totally exciting being one of the little flippy guys that, they jump on a top turnbuckle and then they do that, and then they drop kick a guy in the face. It just fighting just feels really good in this game. For gameplay, I'm gonna give a 4 out of 5. I would give this a 5 out of 5 if and only if the game had more variety in its match types. While there is a seemingly endless combination of wrestlers that you can, create on your own and pitting the different wrestlers against each other, the lack of variety in the matches, there's only so much you can do just slamming the same several people into the mat. It's still super fun. It's just, I know what future wrestling games have been able to accomplish, and it wouldn't have hurt to have tables, ladders, and chairs. Graphics and style. Right off the bat, let me just say that the graphics are rough, and that's even taking into account the point in time when this game was released. Starting with character models, Ocarina of Time came out 1 year before this game came out, and has a lot more cohesive looking character models that you can tell they make expressions and everything like that, where superstar faces are penned in and are completely motionless. The Rock, for instance, is always just boasting that cocked eyebrow. The character models themselves are super blocky, and in some cases they don't even look like they're connected properly, because you'll have the joint where your elbow, there's just a gap. Sometimes it happens. In a video game it would probably be a little disconcerting in real life. The textures are relatively flat, although I will give that the color palette available to you is a lot wider than you would expect, and can be vibrant in the case of the custom editor for your heroes or superstars, whatever they're fucking called nowadays. The one thing that is saving this category from a potentially lower score is going to be the animations. The animations are pretty dope for an N64 game, with a medium such as wrestling, where wrestling moves are as big of a component of wrestling as the wrestlers themselves are. You would need to have the game performing those moves as fluidly as possible, to the point where you'd be able to be like, that's a chokeslam, or that's a hurricanrana, or whatever the fuck they're called nowadays. And sure, the models clip into each other pretty consistently, but the animations themselves are still pretty cool. And like I said, with the animations, this is a saving grace, because in any fighting game, the characters and the moves are king. The only other thing worth mentioning is the HUD, and it's super basic, but it's simple and out of the way, and it allows you to see what's happening in front of you clearly. So I'm going to be giving the graphics a 3 out of 5. Like I said, it is pretty rough. There are a lot of other games in the same time period that have much superior graphics. But again, the animations and the color palette is saving this from a much lower score. Sound design. Pretty standard fare when it comes to the sound design. The ring's mat makes that really bassy, wobbly sound when you slam someone into it. Whereas the same move performed outside of the ring results in a more, muted thud, as it would against, that dense padded floor. Strikes and Kicks boast that really cartoony slapstick sound bites like. But honestly, that fits into the whole TV wrestling dramatization. During a fight, the crowd will cheer and jeer according to what they're witnessing in the ring. Actually, one of the best uses of the crowd is when a pin is attempted. In a normal scenario where you try to attempt a pinfall, the ref voice comes down and he's like, you know, in a particularly grueling fight where, you know, you really just beat the shit out of your opponent, where you know that you're getting a surefire thing in. So when you go for the pinfall, so you'll have the referee, but the crowd will actually cheer along with the countdown, and so you'll get the crowd going. You know that when that's happening, like, shit's about to, like, go down. When you're on the receiving end of a crowd-assisted countdown, you know that you gotta start stepping it up. Since the sound isn't really anything special, it works, though, in the confines of the game. I'm going to be giving sound design a 3 out of 5. Control. As much praise as I can give this game, this is really where I need to start giving it its lashes. The game controls like garbage. The trouble doesn't necessarily stem from an inherently bad control scheme, which it isn't. It's actually quite simple. What really sucks about it is that unless you have dedicated time into teaching yourself, there's absolutely little to no indication on how to use controls. And I have tried. I have literally tried figuring out what some of these fucking mechanics are, and primarily I'm referring to the counter/reversal system in place, and they are still just so far beyond me. I've scoured a good amount of FAQs, walkthroughs, tip websites, and honestly, so many of them just say a lot of it is luck, and just spam the shit out of the button. I even went as far as to download a literal PDF of the original game manual in hopes of trying to see like what they were planning, you know? And some mechanics of the game aren't even mentioned in the fucking manual. Let me just roll back though. The game, control-wise, is absolutely playable. You can play this game. No problem. You can accomplish a good majority of tasks as long as you know the inputs, which takes, you know, trial and error. Sometimes, you know, inputs are dropped, or in some cases, I've had inputs like literally swap. Really weird. Looking at the control scheme, it's simple. Like I said, it is simple. You got a button that hits, a button that grabs. Very cool thing about it is that it actually uses longer button presses for to variation of some moves. So a quick quick tap of the attack button, you do like a quick jab, or in some cases you can hold down the attack button and you'll do like a fucking uppercut or something like that. Same thing goes with grappling. You hit, in case it's A, you hit A, you just tap it, your guy does a quick light grapple. And most of the moves that are attached to that are quick little airy moves. Whereas if you hold it down, your guy kind of doubles down and does a strong grapple, and that gives you the pathway to into the more devastating moves. It's all very simple, and it's all modified with what direction that you're holding the thing. It's intuitive. It's on paper, it works. But sometimes it just doesn't, and that's what's so fucking frustrating about it, because I have a lot of fun with this game. And the thing that just bugs the shit out of me, I'm gonna go back to it, is the counter and the reversal system. How the fuck do you do that shit? And it was really weird, like towards the end of the Let's Play, I don't know what I was doing, but I was reversing people, and I wasn't doing anything different. Nothing different. There's a button to block and there's a button to dodge. And again, the game doesn't tell you like what is supposed to do. Like obviously block is block and dodge is dodge, but those are the same buttons that you're supposed to be fucking using for escapes or fucking counters. It's infuriating not having the information. That, coupled with the insane difficulty spike that you experience, the game instills you with this false sense of oh, you're doing a really good job, you're kicking a lot of ass, and then they just like, alright, here's Kane, and then you're like, okay, I can take Kane, yeah, I was only kicking, Scotty Too Hotty's ass, and next thing you know, you go up to Kane and you try to throw a fucking punch, and he just grabs your fucking fist, and then he just, chokeslams you, and you're like, oh, what the fuck, how was I supposed to know how to do that? Or it's like, oh, okay, when it first happens to you, you're like, oh, okay, that was pretty cool, and then, once you start having it done to you literally 50 times, it kind of makes you revert into cheesy methods to win, and I try not to do that, but in some cases you really had to do that, and it's so disappointing, because the game is so fun, but the controls are just so fucking infuriating sometimes. Let's just go to the score. So as you can probably guess, this isn't going to be that good of a score. It's going to be 2 out of 5. Like I said, the game is playable, but it's just so fucking frustrating that I refuse to give this anything higher than a 2. But it's playable, so I won't give it a 1. Polish. Seeing as how THQ released this game in the holiday season of 1999, only 1 year after the previous title, WCW NWO Revenge, and they were obviously, again, trying to capitalize on the upcoming namesake event, Wrestlemania 2000, just 5 months ahead of it. There are obvious signs of rushing, incomplete character models, the lack of a cohesive control scheme, the cracks show. But I do have to give them credit that in a year, they released probably my favorite wrestling game. Again, I give this game a lot of shit on some things, but there are a lot of stuff that I still fucking love about it. So, yeah. Let's go to the score. 3 out of 5. What else do you want me to say about it? It's not a perfectly released game, but it's not Superman 64. I guess any N64 game that you can play can be compared to Superman 64, and this is obviously better than Superman 64. So 3 out of 5. Let's move on. Storyline and lore. Outside of the campaign, The Road to WrestleMania, there is no story, which is the bog standard for a fighting game, So the fact that it's included makes it really appreciated. So Road to WrestleMania features the in-ring discussions, which are called promos in the industry, as we call them, if anything, substantial needs to be conveyed to you as the player. Certain superstars will actually have their own unique interactions, but unfortunately, if you play as your custom character, like I did in my playthrough, you're slotted to these repetitive and generic interactions. But whoever you are, you start off as the rookie of the stable, and you claw your way up the tier ladder over the course of a year, participating in a match pretty much every week, and you participate in several pay-per-view events, such as King of the Ring, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, and the titular Wrestlemania. So unfortunately, outside of Road to WrestleMania, there's not much else to mention about storyline or lore or anything like that. It's wrestling. It's meant to be, bombastic in your face, and you're supposed to forget about it 5 seconds later. The fact that it's included in a wrestling game is awesome, so I'm going to give storyline a 3 out of 5. Replayability and captivation. So this is going to be a really quick segment. With the inclusion of the custom creator, there is a countless amount of combinations that you can create for characters. Customization, in my opinion, is the breeding ground for just really addictive gameplay. It's so much fucking fun. I love this game, and I will continue playing it. So no shock, I'm going to be giving replayability and captivation a 5 out of 5. Individuality. So in my opinion, this game stands out as being one of the earliest examples in console history to boast such robust customization capabilities outside of a fucking role-playing game. Wrestling games were around far before the N64, but this one just really makes you feel like you are in the actual arena during the fight. Some titles, before and actually after this title, they feel like an arcade fighting game with just a coat of wrestling paint put over it than an actual wrestling game. And that what comes to mind is WWF Warzone and No Mercy, which actually a lot of people consider to be superior to this game. But you know, they pull the camera closer into the ring, and again, it just feels like an old style, you know, like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. You just got the two guys, and everything else kind of feels blocked out around you. WrestleMania 2000 just has that soul to it that makes it a lot more faithful to the source material, in my opinion. So with that, I am going to give Individuality a 4 out of 5 for music. I really hope you enjoy hearing looping tracks. That's really all you're gonna get. To be fair, I wasn't expecting any, like sweeping scores from a title like this, but the repetition can get grating relatively fast. Each of the superstars actually have their own theme music for when they enter the ring and everything like that, and that's like super cool back in the 90s, but their quality doesn't really hold up today. During a match, I just want to like quickly move past them so I can just don't have to listen to them, which is really a shame because sometimes I want to watch some of the cool entrance sequences. I want to watch Undertaker do, or was it Undertaker or Kane that does like he raises his arms up and then that sounds like Undertaker. I'm gonna say Undertaker. If it's Kane, I'll be really upset with myself. I would know this if I watched the sequences, but I don't, because this music was fucking annoying. So the implementation of the theme songs are cool. Everything else is kind of repetitive and low quality, so I'm going to be giving music a 2 out of 5. Personal factor. This game really is just one of those guilty pleasure games. I don't know. Fuck. I'm not going to say it's a guilty pleasure. It is a relic of a childhood obsession, because I was one of those kids that loved the Attitude Era. I mean, I was in elementary school when Attitude was at its peak, and on top of that, the game itself just holds a really, in a kind of fucked up way, a really warm place in my heart, because it was one of the earliest N64 games that my family had that had multiplayer capabilities, which is really fucking cool. Is it ironic? No, it's unironically. We didn't know how to fucking play the game, because the controls suck. But we're also young, so we're just struggling. We're struggling how to even find out how to win a match. That was until my oldest sibling figured out how you can retrieve illegal weapons out of the audience stand, and so through the power of jolly cooperation, we were doing like a 4-way match and everything like that, with like one of the opponents being a computer. And so what we would do is that we funneled the opponent outside of the ring to the sibling with the, like, I think it was a hockey stick, and they just proceeded to just beat the fucking piss out of this opponent and just just weaken him up for the kill. And then they just picked him back up and just threw him back in the ring for us. And through the godly power of button mashing, we figured out how to pin. And the person was just so bloodied and beaten that we won. It's just little moments like that make me really enjoy video games. And I'm remembering that was just such a fun time with hanging out with my brothers and sisters. I really like this game, and it's always gonna hold a place in my heart. So with that being said, personal factor, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I'd give it a 5 out of 5, but I'm not really a fighting game guy. Alright, so let's tally up the score right now, and after everything is added up, WrestleMania 2000 comes out with a score of 33 out of 50. There's a lot of things that this game does right, and there's plenty of things that this game does wrong. But the fact of the matter is that I am a non-fighting game gamer, and this game is still very precious to me. I'm always going to love it. I'm never going to stop loving it. Yeah, good times with this game. Well, that's going to conclude it for my review of WWF WrestleMania 2000. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If there's anything that you need to argue with me about or agree with me, you do whatever you want. But I really want to hear what you guys think of the review and of the game. Did you guys play this game? If you did, who was your favorite? Who was your favorite superstar? Did you do the glitch where you can play as either one of the Godfather hoes, or you do the thing where you can play as the little crash test dummy? That was pretty fun, wasn't it? I enjoyed doing that. Anyway, that's going to be the end of this review, guys. Again, thanks very much for watching. This means a lot to me. I really like this game, and yeah, I'm going to move on to the next review. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Deuces.